Florian Plettenberg has said that Arsenal have initiated contact with the camp of Kingsley Coman of Bayern Munich, and we've spoken recently that Arsenal will be in the market for a new left winger this summer. And Coman, it's a bit of a, in my eyes, given that Arsenal are supposedly looking at Nico Williams, Coman's a lot older. He turns 29 this summer. He's very injury prone, been solid but not spectacular at Bayern Munich. So, would this also be a bit of an underwhelming signing for you as well?
Yeah, it's not for me, this one. I have to say. I mean, Arsenal somehow seem to be been linked with every single Bayern Munich player who's potentially on the market as well in recent months. Um, I just don't. I can never say never when it comes to transfer links. It's not one that I've heard of myself. There's a few red flags there that you've already mentioned, really, when it comes to Coman and Arsenal. I just don't. I just think he goes to Saudi Arabia. Personally, I think he'll go there in the summer. He's nearly been gone there over the last sort of 18 months or so a few times, and I think this will be the summer he probably will make the move over there. I just don't see Arsenal investing because it's not even like Leroy Sane, which would be a free transfer. You're still having to put down a lot of money for a transfer fee for Kingsley Coman and then taking on the wages as well. I just don't see Arsenal doing that. They want Nico Williams. Mikel Arteta wants Nico Williams. He is the target. I'm not saying they're going to get him, and if they don't get him, because it will be a hard deal to do, if they don't get him, they're going to have to move on to other targets. I just don't, I just don't see Coman being at the top of that list. I would be really, really surprised. As I said, you can never say never, and maybe it is something that it happens, but it's not one that I looked at and read about and thought, oh yeah, I can see that happening. I would be surprised.
Yeah, I think a lot of Arsenal fans share your viewpoints on that one. I mean, we've spoken about the red flags with Coman, but there could be some green flags. He's experienced, he's versatile as well. He's a known winner. I mean, maybe if he accepts that he's not going to be starting regularly, that could be something maybe, especially on that right-hand side, because Saka's never really, until Waneri recently, he's never really had a consistent backup. And of course, Waneri could be Odegaard's backup as well. So in that scenario, could you see Coman working at Arsenal as sort of Saka's deputy?
Yeah, but that's a very expensive backup and deputy, isn't it? I mean, the wages, especially considering what he's going to be being offered from Saudi Arabia at the moment to go over there. If you're going to get him to come to your club, you're going to have to pay wages that are really, really high for a player who, as you said, is not really pulled up. It's tough. I mean, he's scored a Champions League winning goal, but he's not really pulled up too many trees at Bayern, which is why they're potentially willing to let him go before the end of his contract. So I don't see it. It's just not one that sort of ticks any real boxes for me in this one. As you said, Waneri's for me is the cover for Saka. I don't think you need to worry about that for next season. Now you've got that ready-made cover. You haven't had to spend any money on that's come through. I think you focus on the other side of the pitch. Potentially Trossard might go. I think you definitely need a left winger. And let's face it, Nico Williams is the guy that they want. And so yeah, I'd be surprised.
That's fair, yeah. And it's an interesting summer in all positions for Arsenal. We think they'll be going for, likely four players. So this left winger, this striker, this number six, this new goalkeeper as well will likely have to be signed unless one of, Tommy Setford or the youth players steps up. And maybe Zubimendi is going to be the main midfield target. Looks like Andre Berta's pushing for Gyökeres up front, and then of course Nico Williams on the left-hand side. That could already take Arsenal spending close to that 200 million mark, just those three alone, and that's even without signing a new goalkeeper. So and I don't know, I think Juan Garcia is the main sort of goalkeeping target, and he could be about 25, 30 million. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad price, but would you also be happy to accept Arsenal spending a bit less on a striker or a winger just so they do get those four positions covered? And also, if someone leaves like Kivior unexpectedly, they've got a bit left over to plan for any emergencies.
Yeah, I just think they've got to pay what they need to pay to make sure they're really strong last season. They've come up short this season because they didn't invest well enough over the last couple of windows, and they left themselves a little bit short. And they've just got to make sure they can't do that again, because you can't rest on your laurels in the Premier League for one, two, three windows in a row, because you just get overtaken. And I don't think Arsenal really got overtaken per se this season. They just didn't put themselves in a position to really be able to cover for what happened injury wise. And so I think you've just got to pay what you've got to pay to get the players you really, really want this window for Arsenal. I think there will be some sales. Kivior you talked about there potentially. Trossard I've already mentioned. Zinchenko. There will be some money coming in, and obviously aside from I suppose two of them in Zubimendi and Williams will be release clauses, which you do technically have to pay up front unless you can cut deal with the clubs that you can do sort of stagger it. So it's going to be challenging for Arsenal. They are in a good position PSR wise. They've got it's not just PSR you got to worry about though. It's also falling in line with UEFA regulations, which are actually tougher. And Arsenal have to sort of focus on that a little bit more than they have to focus on the Premier League and the PSR regulations as well. So, but they're in a good position financially, really, really strong. Even this run to the Champions League semi-final, what this is going to do for the coffers is unreal already. So they're in a really strong position as well when it comes to finances. So I think they can go big. I think it is going to be a big summer. I'd be surprised if it's not. And I think the club are certainly working very hard right now to put themselves in the best possible position to attack it, very aggressively.